Hello, welcome to our Saliva Cast. I am Dr. Deborah Heller, and as a dentist, a scientist, and a professor, my mission is to bring evidence based salivary diagnostics to dentists worldwide. By using these innovative tools, you'll be able to make more precise diagnoses, provide better care, and ultimately improve the health of your patients. So, I invite you today to join us in this mission to bring cutting edge saliva based diagnostics into everyday dental practice. And that's the reason why I created the first ever saliva podcast, Saliva Cast. So, welcome to our very first Saliva Cast, our first podcast. And today I want to focus on how advanced technologies in salivary testing are the future of the health diagnosis in our clinical practice. So today together, we will explore how saliva once overlooked, right, dentists? Many times we didn't care so much about saliva, but now it is at the forefront of health diagnostics. And let's start with the first question. That's the easiest question and the easiest answer we'll have today in our very first saliva cast. Why saliva? Why would dentists, and not only us dentists, but health professionals worldwide, why would they be looking at saliva as a diagnostic fluid? Well, that's a very easy answer. The reason is because saliva is the most non-invasive body fluid that we have. So it is saliva, the most non-invasive diagnostic fluid available today. It is very easy to collect. It allows for self-collection. So the patient, they don't even need to come to our dental practice to do this test. They can do from their home, from their university, from their workplace, or of course, they're more than welcome to do it here at our dental clinics. And it has a minimal risk of this collection. It is very comfortable. It is absolutely painless. And we all know, because science has proven this, that saliva is the mirror of the body. So it is rich in biomarkers, and we'll be talking more about those. So it is rich in bioanalytes and can be used, therefore, to diagnose health and disease status. So that's very easy to understand why everyone would rather spit in a cup. Yes, because saliva testing is as easy as spitting in a cup, like spitting in a tube, than to have their blood drawn. So it is very easy, the most non-invasive body fluid, easily accessible, doesn't require our patient to do anything like invasive. Many times they don't even need to come to the clinic to do it. They can do from their home. So, and we cannot forget, because it can be self-collected, the saliva sample, because even when the patient comes to our dental clinic and they do the test from here, they could actually do it themselves. So we can just give them the tube and they spit on the tube. So it's very easy. What does this have as an extra advantage? It reduces the cost. So the cost effectiveness of saliva testing is always better when we compare to any other test. And let me give you this information, you may not have it. That is the same amount of biomarkers that we can detect in blood, we can detect in saliva. So there you go. So let's talk about now what's going on, right? Which tests do we have in the world, right? Which tests do we have currently available? Which saliva tests do we have currently available? And also let's discuss a little bit of the technologies that are being available nowadays. So I will mention to you some strides that in healthcare diagnostics and how advanced salivary testing can really reshape early disease detection, including early detection of diseases like cancer, like cardiovascular conditions, and like metabolic disorders. So let's take a closer look of which test is it that we have nowadays available. And if you're thinking now, my fellow dentist, my colleague, why do I need to know about this? Why do I, as a dentist, need to know about this? Well, let me tell you. First of all, saliva is our field of expertise, okay? So yes, you need to know about saliva testing. And then second, through saliva, you can detect even more information about your patient's health status. And yes, dentists, once you master saliva testing, you'll be having an even more efficient diagnosis of your patient. You'll be taking better care of your patient in clinical practice. And yes, I understand it is a big revolution because yes, you dentists, myself as a dentist, we will be looking beyond the oral cavity. And it's about time this happens because it's been proven that the body and the rest of the body and the mouth are completely connected. This has been absolutely proven by science, how it is important to have oral health for systemic health, how any disease affecting the oral cavity affects the rest of the body. So it is more than time that we as dentists, we start to look as the patient as a whole, as a person. Think of the patient as a house and the mouth as the door of this house. That makes it quite easy. So, which saliva tests do we have currently available? Which tests do I have here in my dental clinic? Well, we cannot talk about saliva testing without mentioning the first ever approved test in the USA, saliva-based, FDA approved, the HIV test through saliva. This has been approved many years ago. It is sold there. I'm talking to you from Brazil. We also have an HIV saliva-based test available in Brazil, both to be bought in any pharmacy here, but also look how amazing this is. HIV-based saliva testing in Brazil is available in our public health system. This is so important. This is such a breakthrough that the Brazilian government makes sure to bring this HIV saliva diagnostics test to our public health system to give it for free. It is free to any patient that wants to test it. It's absolutely spectacular. We also have quite a few companies. They started as startups and now they're growing and growing, that have been using saliva as a body fluid for health and disease monitoring. I will mention here Viome, Viome. You can go to their website, you can check. They offer a oral and throat cancer saliva-based test, okay? And they do use, they base their tests on this very interesting and sound science. So The science is there, is evidence-based, the research is there. So they connect all these saliva profiles. They use microbiome profile, they use genetic profiles, they use microRNA expression profile, and they use AI. Of course, they use AI. So they use artificial intelligence in order to check the patterns and to bring this as a health diagnostic tool to aid in the diagnostics of oral and throat cancer. Yes, dentists. If you're seeing in your practice a patient that is at high risk for having oral and throat cancer, a patient that is in the high risk group, like male patients that make use of alcohol, smokers, we know this patient. This patient is the high risk for having oral and throat cancer. We want to talk to this patient about this test, about this saliva-based test, because it may be this test that saves his life. So dentists, I have something to tell you. This is amazing, and this is why the reason I do what I do. It may be through a saliva test that our patient has their life saved, that our patient gets a diagnosis that they didn't have before, and that they can treat it, and then they can live longer and in better health. And all because we as dentists, we stopped overlooking at saliva, and we started looking at it as the gem, as the diamond, as the treasure as it is. Because saliva backs this knowledge. Evidence is there. I am a dental scientist. Everything I talk to you in SalivaCast, of course, is evidence-based. Let's talk a little bit more about the technologies, right? Which technologies are we using nowadays for saliva testing? Well, think with me as a lab on a chip, or as a microfluidic device miniaturizes lab functions into a single chip, allowing for rapid, sensitive detection of biomarkers with just a small sample of saliva. I know when I say this, it for sure sounds like it's too good to be true. Well, science is there. There's several manuscripts that have been published showing how we are very close to having a lab on a chip. There's researchers over the globe that are testing this as we speak. And think of it like a lab on a chip that can measure things like hormone levels. So you have this here. I will use this as an example. This size. So I'm holding now on my hand this box that it's about the size of my hand. Okay. So think of changing just the cassette inside this box, this little box. And I'm putting this box here at my dental office. I will have from now on this box with me, and I'll change the cassette. And I'll check for my patient through saliva, for example, hormonal levels, few hormones. Yes, we can detect with good sensitivity and specificity in saliva. We will talk about today more about the stress hormone, cortisol. This testing is already being done in saliva, and actually, saliva is the gold standard body fluid for cortisol testing. Yes, stress hormone is detected in saliva. In fact, check the lab wherever you are in the world. Once we finish our first saliva test, call the lab and ask them, do you do cortisol testing? How do you do it? They are going to answer you. We do saliva-based cortisol testing because that's the gold standard. We could also check in this lab on a chip for inflammation markers. We are currently in the last days for submission for sessions for the IADR meeting, the International Association of Dental Research meeting that's happening next year in June. So in June of 2025 in Barcelona, you have a very special invitation to come to this is the largest and the best science and dentistry meeting in the world. It's the International Association of Dental Research General Session. It's happening next year in June in Barcelona. And we are having a session on inflammation markers detected through saliva. And the session will have speakers talking about both oral diseases, for instance, the use of salivary inflammation markers for periodontal diseases. And I myself will be talking about inflammaging. Yes, my friend, I will be talking about monitoring inflammatory and immune markers in saliva of older adults, all through saliva or all non-invasive. And of course, I cannot talk to you about lab on a ship, about microfluidics, if without mentioning all the COVID-19 antigens saliva-based tests that many of us have maybe perhaps even already done this test. So this was something very, very important that happened during the COVID-19 pandemic. Personally, I am very proud to have contributed to bringing saliva-based COVID-19 tests to many hospitals and clinics worldwide. So from the start of the pandemic, we knew we could detect respiratory virus in saliva. We knew this way before the pandemic. I will share with you very quickly this because it's really it's emotional what happened during the pandemic. So we all knew that we could diagnose respiratory virus in saliva. And once the COVID-19 pandemic started, right, the first case in December 2019, first case in Brazil was actually in February 2020. I gathered all my students and I said, look, we need to help out. We need to help fight this pandemic. What is it that we know what to do? Like, what is our expertise? And as you've noticed for just meeting me here in SalivaCast, you guessed it right. My expertise is salivary diagnostics. So I gathered all my students and I mentored I mentor students from dental school. So I mentor pre-docs. I also mentor postdocs. So I have master students, PhD students, postgraduate students, postdoc students. I gathered them and I said, we're helping out. First, we'll gather the literature. Let's see what everyone is reporting about saliva utility for diagnosis and monitoring of COVID-19. We published a very well-cited manuscript and I invite you to read in the Journal of Dental Research. JDR, the Journal of Dental Research, is the most known and the highest impact journal in dentistry. So this article is actually available for free. So you can type on Google, you can put their Journal of Dental Research, JDR, put saliva and put my last name, Heller, Heller, and you find, and put COVID-19, you'll find their manuscript. So we publish it. And then we started getting phone calls from all over the world. And the world is calling us and is saying, look, you just published that I can use saliva to detect COVID, but it's not working in my lab, it's not working in my clinic, it's not working in my hospital. And then I gathered my student and I said, what's going on? What is everyone doing wrong? Why is it not working there and it worked here? Because we were already offering saliva-based testing in the hospital that at the time I was a visiting researcher. I am now currently also associated as a dentist and I still collaborate with them in research here at the Albert Einstein Hospital in São Paulo. So I went back to the lab. And I tested different ways to collect saliva for COVID-19 diagnostics, different ways to process it, different ways to test it. And we got to a point that we saw that all the patient needed to do with the highest sensitivity and sensibility and specificity, was to spit on the tube and to have as simple as that, not to use any swab, to use a swab to collect saliva for COVID-19 testing, it reduced the sensitivity of the test. So just spit on the tube, send it for the lab to do RT qPCR or RT-PCR. So that's what we did. We published this second research in the Clinical Oral Investigation, also a very good and high impact scientific journal, CLOI, Clinical Oral Investigation. And we published which is the best way to do the COVID-19 saliva-based test. I share with you this because I'm very proud of this. I know that this saliva-based COVID-19 test, it made health diagnostics available to all populations all over the world. It made COVID-19 diagnostics available, and I like to think that it's helped save lives. So that's why I get a little bit emotional when I talk about this. Well, let's talk more about technology. Which technology is being used for saliva testing? Biosensors and wearable technology. Yes and yes. Biosensors to detect and monitor specific bioanalyte in saliva, potentially in real time and potentially integrated into wearable devices. Yes, this is not a dream. This is not something that is far from us. You have the iTooth startup, right? Coming from Liechtenstein in Switzerland. You can Google them also, iTooth. You have Lura Diagnostics coming from researchers from Tufts University in the US. And I guess there's more to come because many good scientists, and already we have amazing players also in the science and in the industry that are investing in this. So a biosensor, yes. 10 years ago, together with Professor Walter Siqueira, who is now the Dean of Saskatchewan Dental School at the University of Saskatchewan in Canada. He is also very well-known saliva researcher worldwide, and I'm very proud to have had him also as a mentor when I was doing my PhD at Dr. Frank Oppenheim lab. So I'm very thankful for Dr. O's mentorship and also for Walter's constant mentorship. And together with Walter, 10 years ago, we proposed a biosensor that would be attached to the teeth and would detect salivary pH change, and that would be used for saliva diagnostics. This biosensor could be attached to the teeth, could be attached to Invisalign, so to clear aligners, could be attached to a bracket. It's going to be there. And now we have companies like iTooth that I just mentioned to you, and like Lura from the United States that are doing this. So this is a reality. Think with me. To have a wearable mouth guard, a wearable bracket, a biosensor attached to your teeth that will help you track, for instance, your inflammation status, or even pH changes in your saliva. That's already very good to help us dentists to keep our patients healthy. We'll talk about more about this in the upcoming saliva cast. And potentially reducing the risk of our patient to have disease, because we'll detect the change before the disease is there. What am I doing here? I'm talking to you about prevention. Prevention is key. You know this, I know this. All we want is to keep our patients in our dental practices healthy and to maintain them healthy. So we do need to work on prevention. We do already have microbiome tests available. I know there are microbiome-based tests available in the US. They are available in Europe. They are available here in Brazil, oral microbiome, and I am sure that using AI, using artificial intelligence, this task will be more and more available and useful in our clinical practice. To end this first saliva cast, let's talk about the data. So let's talk about AI. Let's talk about artificial intelligence. All the tests that I mentioned to you, many of them are or plan to use artificial intelligence together to interpret this complex data from saliva samples to predict disease risk and offering personalized treatment insights. The use of AI, the use of artificial intelligence could eventually analyze saliva samples and based on historical data, yes, because it's all about the data, predict the onset of diseases with, I am sure it will be this in the future, impressive accuracy aiding in preventive healthcare. So, dentists, I ask you today, in our very first saliva cast, are you ready for this revolution? Because cancer saliva-based detection tests are already available. I mentioned to you the test from Viome. It's called the Oral and Throat Cancer Detect test. It's already available. We have the Z-Week endotest. They use microRNA expression detection in saliva to aid in endometriosis diagnostics. Yes, yes, yes. That's already a reality. We published a paper on this, on the possibility to look for different expression of microRNAs and use this to aid in endometriosis diagnostics. My research group collaborated with the OBGYN team from the hospital here in Brazil. Inflammation monitoring in saliva, this is a reality. Personally, I work with my team on that. We have Saliva Pro Sports. For more interested to know about this, about how to use saliva monitoring in athletes, in high performance athletes, and also amateur athletes. We have been doing this with very good results. Saliva Pro Sports is here. You can check our website. And the use of saliva testing for oral health, it's something that it goes beyond oral health because it checks for oral and also systemic health. It helps us as dentists. And that's why I guess you're listening to our very first saliva cast. So it helps us as dentists to really develop targeted preventive strategies to individualize, to personalize, to tailor both our diagnostics, that's now more efficient using saliva, and our treatment approach. And the result of this, we all bring more quality of life to our patients. And then, of course, as dentists, our patient is happy, we are happy, and our practice is successful. So there it is. Of course, all the tests I mentioned, most of the tests I mentioned to you today are already available. You can check all the websites I mentioned. I'll also put the link in the description of SalivaCast. I am glad if you're interested to know more about the research. I also invite you to join my YouTube channel, Dr. Deborah Heller on YouTube. And I also have my Instagram profile. My main Instagram profile is actually, the name is A Dentista Cientista. So is the dental scientist in Portuguese. And I also just created a second Instagram profile, Dr. Deborah Heller on Instagram. I'd be more than happy to connect with you there as well. And please don't forget to follow right now, do it right now, our SalivaCast, because my mission, dentist, is to bring you knowledge about saliva testing, evidence-based knowledge about saliva testing, so that you can have a more efficient diagnostics to your patient. You can have more precise treatment plan, targeted preventive strategies to your patients, and therefore having more patients with better health. That's the reason I do what I do. That's my mission in life, to bring awareness, science-based knowledge about saliva testing to every dentist in the world. It's been fun. It's been a pleasure to be here with you at our very first SalivaCast. I look forward to your feedback. What is that you want to hear about in SalivaCast? Please join us in this revolution. Together, we'll bring more health to our patients by using saliva testing in our daily clinical practice. I'll see you at the next SalivaCast. Make sure to follow us.